Good morning. I hope you're having a happy Tuesday. I know you've seen some stuff on Bohr models already. Hopefully you read that article carefully. That was a really cool article. But anyways, we are going to talk about how you draw a Bohr model. You must draw a Bohr model of a couple atoms on the test. And they're really actually fairly easy to do. And I'm just going to go over the steps of how to do it. So first of all, oh my, look at all those notes. Everything, all the information is crammed here onto one page, so you can write down what you need to write down as I'm babbling on about it. So it's a model that works only for the first 18 elements because when you get it to element 21, actually, the orbital shape starts getting very strange and very weird. And it's only the first 18 elements where the orbitals are not very complex that the Bohr model will be worked for our diagrams. The electron cloud is something we're going to have to be showing, and we're going to show different orbital levels, different energy levels. I'm going to be using the word energy level, the word orbital, and maybe some other things that if you really look at the definition, they're not quite the same, but I'm going to be using them interchangeably. So if you hear me talking about energy levels or orbitals, that's basically the same thing. So the electron cloud is going to have our different orbitals, our different shells, our different energy levels, and then the electrons are arranged in a certain way in these energy levels. And each of the energy levels or orbitals can have a certain number of electrons. And then the last thing that you have to show in the Bohr model is the nucleus. So basically, when you draw this, you're going to be starting with the nucleus, and then you're just going to work your way out. You're going to be working your way out. What I mean by that is you'll start with the first energy level, then you'll go to the second, then the third energy level. And here are some rules about the orbitals. You can only put 2 electrons in the first energy level, and that's full. You can't put any more in there. Our next rule is you can put 8 electrons in the second energy level, and then the third energy level can also have 8. Now, we'll actually find out, a little bit later that the third energy level can really get 18. And it's just that once you get beyond element 21, when you get to element 21, things just get really strange. And our last rule for making a diagram of a Bohr model is that you have to fill the orbitals in order. In other words, start with the first energy level, then go to the second, then go to the third. So you can't start at the second energy level and start putting electrons in there until you've filled up the first energy level with its 2 electrons. So now I'm going to go to an example. And the example that we are going to do is aluminum. So step number 1 is determine the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons for aluminum. And so I see that I have my best friend out. And by the way, you will need your periodic table or your best friend while you do the work a little bit later after I'm done with the notes. So make sure that you've got your periodic table out. So first of all, determine the number of protons, neutrons, and electrons. I see the atomic number is 13. So the atomic number tells us the protons and electrons. So I'm going to write down 13 protons, 13 electrons. And then the neutrons. Take the mass number of 27 and subtract off 13. And you will get 14. So there's 14 neutrons in each aluminum. And so you've got to put all of those particles, all 40 of those particles, yes, I did my math right, all 40 of those particles into your Bohr diagram. So step number 1 is you look at what element it is, figure out your protons, neutrons, and electrons. Step 2, draw the nucleus. And draw a circle and write the number of protons and neutrons. And so from the previous page, we determined that there were 13 protons and 14 neutrons, and all you have to do is draw that one individual circle and then write P equals 13 n equals 14. A very common error on the test, and hopefully you're listening to me and being very attentive right now. A very common error on the test is to just totally skip the protons and neutrons in the nucleus. Can't do that. Even though the Bohr model really focuses on the electrons and the patterns of electrons, you also need to account for the nucleus in a Bohr model. So step 2, again, start with the nucleus, draw a circle, and then fill it with the protons and neutrons. Our next step is draw the first energy level and add the electrons until it's filled. Okay, we've got 13 electrons that we have to put in this diagram of aluminum. So the first orbital is where I start, and I should put in 2 electrons. And there you go, there are my 2 electrons. I drew them in almost like magic. So there are my 2 electrons, and now that one's full. When you have a full energy level, you have to skip to the next one. So now we'll go to the second energy level. And we see that step 4 is draw the second energy level and add electrons until it's filled, or you run out of electrons. All right. So I've got, let's see, I started with 13. I've got 11 more electrons to put in. So I can fill this with 8. Because I've got 11 electrons I have to put into the diagram. This energy level can hold 8, so I'm going to add my 8 electrons to the second energy level. Now, I'm going to tell you something that you can't really do in terms of geometry. It doesn't make sense in terms of geometry, but you'll get the idea. I recommend that when you do these Bohr diagrams, that you put your electrons in pairs. Now, here's the part that you can't do. On each side of the circle. Okay, circles don't have sides, but I think when you look at the picture, you understand what I mean by the sides of the circle. So there we go, there's 8 electrons. Now, if I total things up, I've got 10 electrons that I've put in my Bohr diagram. That means I've got 3 electrons that I have yet to put in my Bohr diagram. So now I go to step 5, and I draw the third energy level. And I add electrons until it's filled, or I run out of electrons. So I've got 3 electrons left, so there we go. 1, 2, 3 electrons. And there is my full electron shell. No, that's not true. It is now full and complete with all 13 electrons that belong in aluminum. So there you have it. There is your Bohr model for aluminum. And remember, if any of you ever have questions, shoot me an email, and hopefully I'll get back to you in a very timely manner. But that's about all I have for you today, and I will see you later. There's a lot to do. Make sure that you are focusing on the Bohr diagram today. See you later. Bye.